Hello, everyone. Good morning. How's everything?
Good, very good, thank you.
Mm. How's the discoveries been?
Well, for me, it's about more maybe the unconscious, just allowing everything to be just as it is, conscious or unconscious, not worrying about any of those of these distinctions, maybe. Yeah, it's not about being conscious anyway.
The trick is the next. How do you know these two qualities? How do you know these two qualities are happening?
Well, actually, what is more and more clear is that the only difference, first of all, to say something isn't conscious, you need to be conscious of it. So it's never unconscious. And then if there is any label, again, it's the mind saying that, it's the mind filtering, it's the mind making a distinction. And we are not interested in that. It's again a duality just invented by the mind. So I'm not at all interested in knowing if something is conscious or unconscious, and I have no control at all on what is happening or what's happening, and I don't even have control of if I am, on the consciousness itself.
And here's where the trick is, you know. How do you know what's happening? Unless there's a conscious observer witnessing what's happening, but it's still something happening, whatever that might be, either conscious or conscious, clear, unclear, from a distance or from close perception. There's always something happening, apparently.
Yeah, definitely to be able to know that there is something happening, and observers must be there. But very often things are just happening, and there is not even an observer.
A conscious observer, you mean, right?
Yes. I don't know how to describe that.
And this is really simple, honestly. But beyond consciousness, beyond the game of consciousness, beyond even awareness, being aware or not being aware, beyond the certainty of being and everything like that, there's the reality of being, you know, like to be that. That's the only end result when you break from the chains of consciousness. You have to be that. And when the invitation and the dawn of the nature of who you really are, there is no more perception. There is no more witnessing. There is no more phenomena. Everything is that, us, an experience of being that. You know, it's up until that moment, we have to, let's say, have the discernment, clear discernment. Because when the reality of the self, of being that, the reality of being, that there's only that, and there's nothing other than the supreme, really. When that dawns or happens or blossoms, it's evident. It's like nothing compares to it. It's like self-evident, you know? And until that moment, the discernment, the humbleness, the approach to be empty of everything, no matter what, is the game. Because even though whatever perception you might have, unless it becomes the natural revelation, let's say, it's not a revelation, but it's a word that I can describe the dissolution of everything and the clarity of being. And then the game that happens afterwards, the discernment, the clarity, the constant emptiness of everything is the stepping stone into that, you know. I know sometimes words are tricky, you know, it's hard to explain what's happening. I understand that. And it's good that in some way we might we don't know how to express it, because something so pure is in a way revealing itself to itself. It doesn't mean to us. It has never been to us or to me. It's always been itself to itself. And I know words are tricky, but at the same time, they're not tricky. They're trying to point out to you, you know, it's always and always it has been about who you are, clearly, without any doubts, without any veils, without any concepts, nothing. Clear as the day. And I know words are tricky, but we use words, even sensations, whatever happens, we use them as pointers towards dive into our own selves, because that's the invitation of everything, to discover who you really are. You know, and put it this way, the last gap, let's say the last steps, the most subtle qualities of the game are in the realm of nothingness, consciousness, discoveries, perception, is the little steps, the last little steps. Because like I said, it's a different experience to be that than to witness that, or to observe that, or to recognize that. It's a total different games when you are that. It's like there's no comparison, not even close to it. Nothing compares that you recognize that you have always been that. You have never been nothing other than that. You are beyond everything. Everything, no matter what happens. Consciousness, no consciousness, awareness, no awareness, supreme, everything. You are beyond it. And the only result is that it's not like you know, but it's self-evident that that's who you really have. You have always been that. And I'm gonna try to give you an example. Let's say, for example, that right now that you have an experience of being that is clear to you that you are playing in the body consciousness, you know. You are aware of the sensations in the body. You can feel the body, you can feel the arms, you can feel the heat, the warmth, like you can feel it, you know, the body experience. You can describe it as if it were your own, you know, as if it were you too. You can say, I'm experiencing myself in the fullness of this sensation body that I'm experiencing. You can really relate to that easily. You know I can experience the inner realm of my stomach, my heart. Like there's a direct recognition that you can actually feel it, you know, you can feel it. So translate that language or pointers that I'm trying to express into something that cannot be described. And you know you are that. You are everywhere. You're nowhere at the same time. It's tricky with words, but you know. It's like you are that. As you know, you are like you have a body with arms, but they don't define you, of course. There are some people that think their arms define them, their body define them, which is hilarious, but that's how it is. You know, that's a vehicle, but that doesn't mean that's who you are. That's a different, it's simple, but it's a different game, you know? So it's the same thing. The moment everything is transcended, you end up in a place where that cannot be transcended. You reach a point where you cannot transcend anymore. And you have reached that place where now the only way is that you are that. And that's the experience of being. You are the self. You are the being. You are that which no concept can fathom its nature, its true identity. And you are that identity. You have always been that. I know it's tricky sometimes with words, but nothing will make sense until you stop defining anything that happens in front of you as if it were you. No matter what it is, no matter how beautiful it is. And I know it's tricky with words, but we use words, like, as I said before, as just pointers to something so pure, so pure that no one can talk about it. No one. Because it's not a thing. It's not something that you find. It's not something that you experience once any now and then. Because you have always been that which is aware of all these cosmic phenomena, which is you at the same time, you know. But the only moment that it becomes clear that is you is until you realize who you truly are, not before. Before it's just mind games, fantasy, illusion from the point of the ego, from the mind, from the individual. And the illusion of the mind individual can be so strong that the identity of the observer can keep on going, which is a different, like I said. So I don't remember if I said it here, but there's the self, the reality of the self. The only thing that exists has no qualities, none. And one day I said that even the quality of no quality is a quality. So I can't speak about it. Even saying no qualities is a quality, if you know what I mean. And like I said, you can't talk about that. You can't. It's impossible. There's no way. And at the same time, you are that. You can talk about it, but you are that. It's like, wow, this is fascinating, you know. But it's as simple as that. It has always been that simple. It's just a missing understanding of who you really are. So honestly, the only thing that exists is something that you cannot really talk about it. You cannot really describe it, by no means. The rest is just fantasy, illusion, whatever. But then we are approaching the source of everything, put it this way. And the source of everything is you. It has never been something outside of you. It has always been you. And I'm not talking the individual you, not even the cosmic you. That you that doesn't have an individual quality, but it's just a pointer. I'm just saying it's just a pointer, that it doesn't define anything. It's impossible. It is pointing towards the essence of your existence. I mean, there's no difference between the self and you. There's none. Has never been. I know words are tricky, but you pay attention, they're not tricky. If you listen with your heart, they're bold. They are, how to say that, firm. They're not just pointers. They're saying something. And they're saying something about your magnanimosity. I don't know how you say it. That's what they're saying. It's not just some hopeful direction, hopefully getting somewhere. Someday I'm gonna have clarity around it. No, they're telling or saying right now, you are the fullness of everything. It's not a pointer. It's truth. It's reality. You're free. You're beyond. I put it on Facebook, but it's true. If you are experiencing the beyond, imagine then who you are. If you have an experience of witnessing, recognizing the beyond, imagine then your true nature. Imagine that I cannot really talk about it. Not many people want to discover their real self. Not many. It requires a different level of love for the sake of love. I mean, the true love. I'm not talking about human love, sensorial love. I'm talking about the purest expressions of love within the expression of the self. And I was saying something about, like, I think I said it to some of the students in the Spanish meeting. The self has no qualities, okay? It has no qualities at all. And honestly, nothing exists, nothing at all, nothing. But for the sake of the game, there's one quality within the game that can help the people that are still in the game. And I'm talking about, and I'm using these concepts to get clarity. The game is the illusion, duality, the recognition of your true nature is misdirected and all it's a misunderstanding of who you really are. Just believing who you think you are, which is totally different, but within the game, I don't know, there's not many qualities within the game that are so powerful that can help you break from the chains of the illusion. There's only a few that are really powerful, but they're within the game. Beyond the game, it's hard to talk about it. But within the game, there's only a few that I sometimes recommend to explore or suggest that we play with. One of them is contemplation. To observe, to contemplate, to notice, to witness. That's really powerful, because that can bring so much distance and discernment towards the subject and the objects of perception. Witnessing. It's powerful. Other one is conscious awareness. You are conscious that you are, or you are aware, you are awareness. That's a powerful quality. But like I said, these powerful qualities are not reality. They're pointers. They're really powerful pointers. I mean, woof, I mean, they're mind-blowing if you play with them. But nonetheless, they are still pointers. They're not absolute reality. Another one which is really powerful is be empty. Be empty. In another way to say it, just let go of everything right now. And still, that's a pointer. Another one which is really, really powerful is just be that. Just be, and don't define yourself. And still, that's a pointer. So these little pointers that I just mentioned are really powerful. You play with them every nanosecond of your day. You know, they can become simple, natural, because they're natural to you. You'll see that those are natural to you because those are the first subtle expressions of your infinite being. But you're beyond it. So even though that being the witness is powerful, be consciousness is powerful, be that is powerful, it's not as powerful as transcend everything that is happening within the game, break from the chains and everything, and then you cannot really say anything about it. But it's evident that you have always been that. And there's nothing more powerful than being that in the true sense of the word. Not as a pointer. To recognize, to become, that you have always been that which everything is pointing to. There's nothing more powerful than that. Nothing compares, not even close to it. I mean, you can spend a lot of times exploring witnessing or being the consciousness and all of those things, but the moment is revealed that your true nature is that. I mean, the other thing was just a beautiful game, but the next one is, different, and it's more natural. It's like, whoa, this is so natural, but I was just believing, dreaming. That's it. I was just dreaming. Nothing compares that you explore. However, the approach is fine. It's fun. It's just a game. It's a beautiful game. But nothing compares to explore and be rooted into that cannot be found, that is not located, is not a thing, and no concept can actually express its beauty. That's how beautiful you are. Radiant, immense. So whatever you explore with, enjoy it. But with the clarity and the discernment and of course, like I always say, that it's just words. In a way, they're pointing, at the same time they're not. It's not confusing if you listen with your heart, with openness, with humbleness, and with the firm decision that you want to know, like truthfully, And if you explore whatever approach you like, there's many approaches, but you use them or explore them as means or pointers towards the purest of everything that you have always been. It becomes exquisite, beautiful, passion, intense, or whatever flavor comes into being for you, because in a way you're recognizing that you have never forgotten. It's not about remembering. You'll see that you have never forgotten. You have never lost anything. So you have never lost anything. Why would you actually do anything to find something that you have never lost? Fascinating. If you explore your own self or the approaches that I just gave today, you'll see that you have never, ever been lost, ever. You have never forgotten. You have never identified with anything. It was just a subtle dream. That was just it. Small, tiny, funny dream. And it can be done now. Then everything will make sense. Then we can have a conversation afterwards about everything being you. I mean, everything. But not before. Before it's better to explore the discernment, the clarity, the maturity of the firm decision that you are that beyond everything. Then everything will make sense. Then you'll see that you have always been home. You have never left. But the easiest way to realize or come into terms or the naturality or the simplicity of being is to recognize that everything that is presented or any proposal has to do with mind, ego, and fantasy. It has nothing to do with you. That's how simple it is. Because there's only two possibilities in this game. One of them is a joke, but that's how people perceive it. Is that me, I have to find, I have to transcend, I have to purify, I have to let go, I have to cleanse my nervous system, I have to practice being here, I have to remember all the time, I have to come back to this now. Jesus Christ, just suffering in its purest form. You know, because all implies that all that I just said and the more things that you might know that all that you have heard implies an ego, a me that is broken, that has lack, that has not the qualities to be able to reach the mountaintop, let's say. All these holes and lacks, everything is about that, to improve its reality, its understanding, its love, his experience of lack of love, and Jesus Christ. That's the possibility of the mind, you know, that's one possibility, that you play the game of the mind, which is a never-ending game, pure suffering. And that's where the fantasy of the ego starts. But the next one is where it ends. So the other possibility, which is the true possibility, is that you have never been that I. Never. But from this fantasy I, everything is created. Suffering, experiences, happiness, love, expansion, enlightenment, all of those things happen in the I and within the game, in the realm of the I. But you are that which is the witness of the I, behind the I. So nothing applies to you. And then you just laugh. Because if that's true, you were just believing that you were a limited being. That's it. You believe to be someone limited. But that belief is ingrained or is a knot between I, me, ego, consciousness, time, space, all at once is wrapped, and that's illusion. You believe to be that, but you're not that. If you believe to be that, all of those things apply to that ego mind, individual. Healing, transcending, practicing, techniques, reading, I mean, Jesus, all of those things happen to that I, if you believe to be that I. And it's a never-ending game. Or don't believe anything. And then you still are. But then all those limitations that apply to the I doesn't apply to you. And then we're talking, then who you really are is unlimited. And who you really are doesn't need anything. Truly unbounded. Beautiful, profound, wise, complete. That's the only difference. Which I are you? The one that believes, or the one that doesn't believe anything, but still is, without the definition, without the recognition, without the need to recognize itself as if it were. That's who you are, something so beyond, so beautiful. That's how the fantasy breaks completely. Don't believe, don't identify with anything. Be here, empty, or whatever approach you might like or is attractive to you, but is pointing out to your true self. Your true self doesn't need anything at all, honestly. Nothing at all. It's already complete. It is already everything, all at once. But this is the discernment that you gotta play with, that you gotta explore, that you gotta be rooted in your own self as the self. Then you just laugh because you believe, and that belief made you dream, and that's it. That was it. A dream. You don't need to be healed. You don't need to practice being present. Jesus, I mean, the present exists because of you. So if someone has to practice honoring, honoring is the present to you, you know? The present has to play with itself to honor you, not the other way around. You don't have to practice anything. Let the present do whatever it does to honor you. That's what it's doing, everything it can to honor you. No other way around. You don't need to be present to explore the present. It's because of you that the present exists. So leave the present alone. You don't have to play in the present. You have always been beyond time. Why would you want to play in something that is rooted in suffering and limitation? Why? I don't get it. But people play in those realms, and they never break from those realms of ways of perception. Only because they don't know who they really were. They really are. Because if they knew who they really are, I mean, you weren't looking for anything. You wouldn't be desiring anything. Nothing at all, if you knew who you really were. That's the way you say it. But we understand each other. So that's the simplicity of what I'm proposing. Just the simplicity of the little question, the little question of who am I really? Because that's the riddle, but that's the answer to everything. That's the answer to everything. You know, that's the only approach, on the only way worth exploring. The rest is just mind games, fantasy games. This approach or this direction will always push you to break free from the illusion of I, of mine, of here, of now, or as Mahima was saying, consciousness or unconsciousness to it. I mean, that because the only possibility is either which I are you playing with, or are you playing as? That's more correct. Which I are you playing as? This I that forgets, that has limitations, that has tendencies, that has a past, that has a future, that has experienced fear and love, and needs to heal itself and needs to be practiced and maintained, or you play as your real I, which is your true self is behind the eye, but remember, it's just a pointer, it's a pointer. Because it cannot, we cannot really say anything about who you are, but it's just a pointer. Or is the other one, which is complete, complete, lack nothing. And that's the only two possibilities. Where this is funny because it has always been only one real possibility, always playing the game, which is your true self. The other thing is just a misconception of something that doesn't exist at all, has never existed. But if you believe it exists, then of course it's going to be created by your own light, touching the belief. So don't give your light to anything. How can you be sure that you don't give life to anything? Don't be conscious of anything. Don't put your attention to anything at all. Don't recognize anything. Don't give name to anything. Don't even acknowledge anything at all. Nothing at all. For example, imagine that we're walking on the street, and on the right side there's a beggar asking for money, and on the left side, let's say there's a few kids playing, and in front of you in the middle ground is your kids running and your wife running towards the airport. You're following them. Your gaze is in your family, that you don't pay attention to what is next to you, really. If you rest in your own self without paying attention to anything at all, nothing at all, not acknowledging nothing, then your unbounded awareness will reveal itself to be as free, always free, not limited to one thing. That's one way. Another way to start seeing the joke about it. It's all a joke, honestly. It's funnier when you approach it from the self than from the ego mind I. From the I is not so fun, it can be all, but from the self, from the point of view of that you are already complete, you have no lacks, not at all. Because, for example, I'll give you another example, and then I'll like if you have any questions or to share anything. And then from my part, probably it's gonna be, I've said a lot if you pay attention, but it's just so simple. I don't even remember what I was gonna say, but it's just so simple. If you start as if you were already the self, complete and radiant, without the need of anything, that in itself is freeing. Because the rest is just mind games. I know people think they need something. Of course, it's because they think they are people. If you think you are someone as body, mind, consciousness with all these patterns, habits, past, future, lacks, then of course this won't help. But of course, you wouldn't be here if you weren't ready. But let's say, for example, if remembering, let's say, or recognizing who you really were needed practice, healing, it implies that you lack something. Let's say, for example, that you don't have the ability to stay present all the time. It means that you don't have the ability to stay present. There's a lack in you. It's either your attention drifts all the time and you need to practice it, to maintain it, to concentration. That is concentration, you know, because you lack concentration, you lack attention. So if that were the approach that will lead you to freedom, to awakening, that's a really bad deal. If we're honest, it's a really bad deal, because most of the people, they don't have the attention to be here all the time. Their attention is trained to be everywhere except here. So they were born with a lack. So if that's true, it means either the game has a flaw or there's a misunderstanding of the game. Because the self in all its glory, all its fullness and beauty and love, the answer to realizing the self has never been attention. Because that would be a really egotistic self. I will give you the quality to you, that you have the quality to be present all the time. I will give you the power to you, that you will be present and your attention will be here and now. And the rest of you, I will give you bad attention. So you have to practice concentration. So at some point, you'll be ready. That's a really, really bad deal. You know, and that's not the self, that is the ego and its games. It has never been about attention. It has never been about concentration. It has never been about being present. It has never been about that, because, man, if that's true, we're gonna have a serious conversation with the self, and it's like, dude, come on, you create us wrong. Or we're misunderstanding, you know? And consider that the self, all wise and all, I don't think he made a mistake. Probably the mistake is in our understanding. That's it. You know? Because the self has given itself fully to everyone. And the self doesn't need for you to practice concentration to reveal itself to be the self. I mean, it's the unlimited, the all-powerful. It doesn't need techniques. It doesn't need middleman or middle ground. It doesn't need help. It doesn't need anything at all. I mean, otherwise, we're not talking about the real self. We're talking about pseudo, I don't know, facade, or that is pretending to be the self. And that's the ego, of course. The self doesn't need middlemen. It doesn't need sellers. It doesn't need no one. And the proposal here is that the self in all its glory, it's giving itself to you as you. So it doesn't matter if you play with attention or not. It doesn't really care. It's always giving itself to you in its fullest, complete and radiant, in your sense of being. It doesn't matter if you have good attention or bad attention, if you had good memory or bad memory. That doesn't matter at all. You don't have to remember anything. You don't have to remember that you are. You don't have to be conscious that you are conscious or that you are. No, that's pointless. The self doesn't need that. You don't need that. You believe that you need those things to recognize who you are, but that's because you think you are someone limited or separated or split from source. You are source. It's just a misunderstanding. It's as simple as that. The self that we're exploring here is you as the self in all its glory. And the self, like I said before, doesn't need the middleman, doesn't need a technique, it doesn't need an approach, it doesn't need healing. All those things only apply if you believe to be an I, an ego, an individual, but you have never been that. So this is the real self, the one that is as the self in everyone, regardless of their dream reality. Believe me, it doesn't really matter if you think that you need to practice attention or not. Pointless. For the recognition that you are the self, or the reality of the self, that sometimes I use these words because they are pointers, really important pointers. Anything that happens in front of you, anything that people suggest that you have to do is pointless, is useless, honestly. You already that. And the only thing that will break the fantasy is the understanding of what I'm saying. The approach, the discernment, the humbleness, the clarity, your heart finally blooming, you know? But like I said, the other games many people are playing, it's just pure suffering. Because it doesn't go to the root of the suffering, which is I, and it's fantasy. That's how simple this is. But at the same time, it's profound, you know, profound at the same time, but at the same time natural, evident. It has to be so simple that we just are misunderstanding the game. And it's true. I remember a long time ago that I had a fight within myself really strong, that I was like kind of like, well, you self, God, however you wanna call it, you made a mess out of me. I mean, you didn't design me properly. I have so many lacks and limitations. I mean, unbelievable. Jesus Christ. I mean, you were designing me, and then you forgot and just let me unfinished. let's let's put it that way, you know. And it's like, no, I was just misunderstanding the game. You know, I was just misunderstanding because I believed that I was that I, that me, that ego. That was just a belief. And then everything became clear that I have never been that that I. I have never been that me. It's like, whoa, it's like what I was thinking, you know? And then the rest, it was just funny. Funny, 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 funny. It wasn't funny before, of course. And I know sometimes people need a different approach from the whatever they are, which is fine. It's beautiful, you know. It's with respect, with honor, with beauty, with love, with sustaining whatever you are or people are is good. But at the end of the day, there's gonna be a moment, and that's gonna be the how do you say that in English? How do you say that the hour of truth, or the moment of truth, or the moment of the invitation, you know, the invitation. It's gonna be, hey, remember now. Let go of all that fantasy that is useless, it's pointless anymore. And for many people, it's gonna be different, but the invitation is gonna be that. Be that. Forget about the little me and this limitation, its fantasies. And then you'll see that the only thing that exists is the self as the self, and nothing else exists. And it's literal, you know. For many will present that beauty blossom naturally in different ways for everyone, but still the invitation is here, the approach is here, the game is here. So just play or explore as comes to you, which is the beauty of this. The beauty of this is listen to your own self, your heart, your intuition, and recognize which self are we exploring here. Like I said, this self, this love is not asking you anything. You don't need to improve. You don't need to practice. You don't need to heal. There's nothing wrong. There has never been anything wrong in you or anybody or anywhere. Nothing at all. There's no lack nowhere. You don't need to improve. You don't need to deserve. You don't need to heal, to cleanse, to be better at something, better at remembering, better at being more conscious, better at being more here. You believe someone else that told you that, and because you were sensible and you wanted love and you wanted to know more, you believe that to be true, but it's not true. People that don't know, they just speak, and people they don't know, they listen and they apply what people say that they don't know. And that's what we did, which is part of the game. Nothing wrong with it. But now the approach is different. Now is listen to you, rest in your own self, trust your own self. There's nothing wrong. You don't need to change anything. You don't need to improve anything. You don't have to become no one, nothing. Just let go of all this learning that you have heard somewhere else that doesn't apply to your own self. Nothing applies to you, nothing really, nothing at all. You're already complete. You're already free. You're already that. Believe me, you're already that. Then I remember some words that Mahima shared the other day, but it's true. If you listened from here, there's something that is freeing, like really freeing, It's like finally you're opening your wings, or you're finally have opened the cage. There's a different kind of freedom and lightness of what I'm saying today. To finish, why is this different? I had to remember this word because this is in a different order, in a different realm. This is different. This is not the same as everything else. It can't be. Nothing is higher than this. Nothing. Nothing can be higher than the reality of the self. Nothing. The rest is a lower planes of experience. Here we're playing with fullness, completeness, beauty, and something beyond any name or concept or even experience. The source, the real witness, and its true nature and realm and world and reality. The rest is just not the same. Not even the same universe. This is simple. Just be. And don't define yourself. And don't get involved with anything. And I gotta say something else, funny enough. I mean, life is beautiful. Live it, enjoy it. You can't be or go against the beauty of life in all its flavors. But the difference is that don't let life with all these promises and games to define who you are. That's the only difference. It's simple, but it can change the game forever. You can play in life, enjoy life, fall, stand up, whatever, but don't let life define you. I mean, you can experience your loved ones and everything, you know, it's beautiful. Or go to the sea on, I don't know, surfing, I don't know, whatever you want your body experience like to explore. But if you don't define or identify as that I that is exploring life as an individual experience or perception or point of view, then everything will become glorious, natural, because you can't go against you either, or the way of life wants to express itself. The only difference is nothing in front of you can be, nothing in front of you can tell who you are, nothing in front of you can define who you are. Then we're talking. And that's the difference. Small, but big. Because then nothing applies to you. Whoa. Nothing at all. Then life will be lived with love, simplicity, harmonious in a different way. But it's because you have taken a stand as being the witness of life itself. And at the same time, you are life itself too. That's why it's not about rejecting it, pushing it down, or negating it either. Normally I said when another really easy way to break from the dream is to treat everything as a dream or as a movie or as a cosmic phenomena or a play, everything as if it were. Then you will be the witness of everything, and that approach can help a lot, you know. But I'm just talking about knowing who you really are, because at the same time you will be exploring life, you will be working, you will be traveling. Hopefully we can get to know each other and meet and do something and have really good food, you know. That's life. But from the perspective of the witness, everything will be different, you know. And that's the only way I can say it. When you treat life as a dream only for you to remember fully, but not to reject life or pushing it or pushing it down or judging it. No, I'm not talking about that. It's just about the approach of finally take the sufficient distance or the gap between you and everything that is happening. So the possibility and the clarity around what we were talking about today will be evident, self-evident, only with that approach. Well, I hope I broke the record, Gavin, and we're happy. I'm done.
It's an incredible talk today. That's yeah, I feel the unboundedness of being, so it's great. You know, I realize that how in our life we live in so many games and illusions. Money, for example, religion, all these things, and yeah, it's just very freeing. But you know, I love these 4 keys you've got to finding yourself. So that's the contemplation, the conscious awareness, emptiness, and just being that. Those are powerful directions. So yeah, I've been playing with the emptiness, and yeah, I've always been scared to do that, but it's actually very good. Yeah.
You know, if you treat emptiness as a pointer, I mean, imagine who you are. I mean, because people, when they treat emptiness as an object, it can be scary. You know, of course, But if you treat it as if you were the subject of emptiness, the object, it means that you are beyond emptiness, which means how can you be afraid of something that you're already beyond it?
True.
You're already beyond it. You know, if you weren't beyond it, I mean, of course, be afraid of it.
Mm.
You know, I mean, if I put you in front of a lion, a hungry lion, you'll be afraid. You're not beyond it. I mean, body's talking. I'm not talking about the body food. You know, you're not beyond it.
Yeah.
But if you treat everything that you are beyond everything, I mean, you cannot be afraid of anything. That's why they're pointers, because they're pointing out that you already are beyond them. Otherwise, you cannot be playing with them. You wouldn't be able to notice in them or recognize them as something in front of you. And that will be the invitation. You know? So simple.
Mm.
Hello, Gavin. How are you?
Hello, Sarkhan.
Good to see you.
I'll have to listen to this all again because I've had a number of interruptions throughout your talk. I wasn't properly set up to begin with, but anyway, the thought that keeps creeping back to me is that I'm empty all the time. I don't know if that I'm completely thick, or is it just? I mean, what's the opposite of emptiness? Is you're constantly concerned with things. Sorry, there's a cat. Come on! Oh dear!
Hey, kitty cat.
Oh, what has happened now?
We can hear you and see you for sure.
Yeah.
He wanted to participate.
Yeah, I can't see myself. It doesn't matter.
You look great though.
No, my screen's cut full of all sort of junk, and I don't know where it's come from because the cat walked over something. Oh dear. This striving for clarity and empty clarity with emptiness, or I don't know what terminology you're using, but I mean, if I'm worried about something, if I'm frustrated, or I'm concentrating on things that are not important, we don't want to be there. So we want to clear our mind of while thinking of those mesmerisms, and but the state that you're referring to, I it's beyond me. I can't comprehend it. On the one hand, and on the other hand, I think, well, maybe that's where I'm at much of the time anyway. You know, sorry.
Oh yeah, that's right. But it's like something interesting with this. How can I put it? Life has its own journey, you know. Sometimes you gotta do things. Sometimes you gotta take decisions. Sometimes whatever. Life is life, you know.
Yeah.
The body is gonna do what it needs to do to protect itself, to talk, to interact, to something, you know, that's what the body does. The trick here would be to don't take the experience of the body mind experience to you, as if it weren't happening to you. It's happening, you know, life is happening, the world is happening, but it's not happening to you. You are not in it. Your body is in life, the body, but you're not. And that will give a little bit of distance between everything that is happening and you. You, like I said, one of the concepts that can point, but it can't reveal your true self is you're already empty. You're already empty. But that doesn't mean that you are emptiness. You're beyond it. You know, even emptiness cannot define you. If you're witnessing emptiness, you can't be emptiness. And that no one can talk about. There's no concept for it. And you're that. And you have never questioned this because it's so natural. You're already that. For example, every day, you don't spend all day making sure you are breathing. You don't. All day, you're not making sure that you're actually seeing. You don't. It's natural. So you don't pay attention to those things. You don't question them. You don't. It's natural. You know, it's natural.
Yeah.
Being the self is even more natural than those things. That's why you have never. You don't need to. You don't need to know that you are the self. You don't need to. But you are. The mind is impossible to grasp this because you're already witnessing something that is beyond the mind. We're exploring something that is beyond even concepts. And those are really big concepts that the mind has used to make sense out of things. The concept of emptiness was created to give sense to emptiness, to the possibility of nothingness. Because without the concept, you can get lost and be anxious about it, you know, can be fearful. That's why the mind has created a concept out of it, to make sense. You know, but you don't need to make sense. You don't need nothing to stand on, to lose gravity or to lose the ground where you're standing, because you already are that which is behind any concept. Otherwise, you wouldn't be able to witness it. If you're witnessing the thought of emptiness, if you can recognize emptiness as an experience even, not a concept, as an experience of being empty, who you are is just one step behind.
So you're talking about active emptiness.
Let's say, yeah, I like it. Exactly. Let's say it that way. You're already active emptiness. Beautiful pointer. You're already that. So at the same time, emptiness by itself is already complete, full. You know, already full in itself, by itself. And of course, I know beautiful pointer, active emptiness, but that active emptiness by itself is already complete. I mean, complete. And you already that. Full, complete, active emptiness, however you want to call it. And from that point of view, of that point of reference, let's say, everything is a joke. You know, because everything else implies you are not complete, you lack something, you're missing something, you know, it's just funny. And then you just laugh.
We've been conditioned over our lifetimes and by the church and all sorts of extra influences to impress upon us that we're not complete. And that's rubbish.
Perfect word. It is rubbish. Simple.
No.
It has always been this simple. Really.
Yeah, I suppose too. What some of us who drift into meditation, we're kind of thinking, well, there must be something clearer that I'm not aware of. But in fact, we've already got this clarity. You don't have to push the curtains apart to see what's on the other side, because it's already in the room.
Correct.
Right.
I'm so happy for you.
I didn't hear your introduction, sarkhan. I trust everything's going well for you.
Yeah,
Of course.
it was interesting times, different game, but beautiful.
Mm. Good.
So tomorrow in New Zealand, we have a public holiday for Labor Day. So, yeah, and so it's nice to have an extra day, a nice long weekend. And we're in our day 33 of our lockdown here for
Oh, wow.
the virus pandemic in Auckland. So we've got a holiday, but we can't go anywhere.
Yeah, I've been through that.
You know the game. It's another game we're in. So, yeah. So thank you so much, and yeah,
good to see you all. I'm glad we get to spend some time together, at least once a month.
Oh no, this has been wonderful. So I'll be listening to this one again for sure. So yeah.
Yeah, definitely. I try to put it on the school as soon as possible.
Please, thank you.
Yeah, of course.
Such a sarkhan.
Yeah, all good.
Yep.
I love you all.
Yeah.
Take care.
Until next time.
Till next time.
Yeah.
Ciao, ciao.